pretty silly here. He's not letting us. He's not letting us. So we could stop now and we are up 7 ranks. 34. It's almost as if it wasn't ELO. I was always 34 the whole time. "34 out of 61. When does the Cosmic Showdown start? Does got an Eternal Guardian out in Evo? The thing is, if I play another one and I lose against Angus or something wild, cause Croc, I will feel salty again. So I should probably stop when I'm ahead, as long as I'm ahead. So the showdown starts at 6 PM, which is... yeah. It's fine. So... I will not play in the showdown because I didn't make it. Because I didn't play for a long time, and then at the last week I was at 360 or something. No, it was something like that, I think. And laddering up is a pain when you're that much behind. And I at some point you have to do a calculation. Is it worth your time? So I decided no, it's not worth my time. And the bigger point is I had no way telling how much time I needed. Like, the whole system is so intransparent. There's no transparency, so you don't know what a win means. How much more wins do you need? Does it make a difference against who you win? Apparently it does not, by the way. Apparently it does not. But I have a whole theory on the case, which you can read up on the forum. But it just felt too demotivating to try it. So I ranked up and I think to rank 250, and that took some time. And yeah, I thought, no, that's not worth it. So I'm sure it's not ELO. That's the only thing I'm sure about. And the way I want to do it this season is make sure that I'm at the top 64 at least for the first month, and then it should be more easy. Like, ideally I will be at around 20 in 2 weeks, and then I probably can again not play for a month, because that's how I think the system works, since there is no decay. And we know play more is important, but I hate play more, so I just want to play the exact amount I need. Anyways, I can complain about Wild when I'm playing it. That's wrong. I can. Since the thing is that only sometimes Wild mirrors are stupid, but it's far too often. And just because you play wild doesn't mean you can't complain about it. What options do you have? You can play Angus, which is, in my opinion, worse from the moral standpoint. There is no moral standpoint in TCG anyways. But Angus is worse, let's say this. And Control, can't play Control and ladder up. And as long as people play Angus in the amount they should, which they are apparently not, more people should play Angus. Since it was overperforming even though it was the most expected deck. It was the most overperforming, overachieving deck. That's... that is so hard to grasp, but apparently it's hard to grasp. It was the most played deck, and everyone expected it to be the most played deck, so everyone brought hate and tried to counter it. But it still was a deck that overachieved more than any other deck. Out of all decks that played Angus, I think 51% achieved 6 or more wins. No other deck compared to Angus performed that well. No deck gained 51% 6+ win rates. 6+ wins. 51% of 6 wins. That's a win rate of, I don't know, more than 51%. So what that means is that more people should play Angus. But during my ladder experience, actually not many people play Angus. From that standpoint, you could try and build a counter deck, a control deck that beats Wild. But even that is not easy, because Wild also has overpushed cards, like Mightzinger, mostly. But granted, I mean, if there's one deck that can handle a Mightzinger, it's a control deck, obviously. But still, it's not easy. And then when you're playing against Angus, it's very hard, I feel like. Very, very hard with a control deck, with any control deck. So I don't think control is the way to go right now. And it's slow, that's the other thing with the ladder system. Since it is play more, and since reaching Cosmic early is important, we know those two facts, in my opinion. In my opinion, those are facts. But feel free to chime in on the forums. But because of those two things, playing a deck that plays fast is important. So you have an advantage playing Angus over any control deck, since it's just, you do your games quicker. And the way I see it with the leaderboards is, as long as you have more than 50% win rate, you will ladder up. As long as you have 50 or more win rate percentage, it's about play more. Okay, what was it? Yeah, that's why I play. And you have to at least grant me that I came up with another wild deck, with a new wild deck, with a new variant. Which, I think this deck I just played, or I am playing, the Valor deck, it is good against Angus, compared to other decks at least. And it is also very able to beat Control, since you have the card advantage if you can manage it. It's not easy to play. I have to say, this Valor deck against Control, very often and usually are very fun matches. Those are the times where I'm having fun with decks, and I'm fine losing. When I'm playing this deck against Control, it feels like a fair match, in the sense that it feels like that decisions matter. When I'm playing against Control, usually decisions matter a lot on both sides, and very often one side can outplay the other. And that's what I want in my TCG. I want those moments where I feel like, yeah, I just played that right, and because I played it right, I won. And it was not easy to play it right. It was easy to play it wrong. But I don't have this very often at all when I'm playing against other wild decks. Sometimes it happens and you have this back and forth and you have like 20-30 turns against another wild deck. But very often it's like Singer, trigger, no trigger, croc, no croc, game is over. Croc and game over. Far too often. Far too often. And against Angus, it's even worse. Against Angus, the most important thing is his draw against Angus. Since you can't, if he brings his A game, even if you have the hate, it's gonna be so hard. It's gonna be near impossible if he brings his A game. Even if you bring your A game yourself. And you can't outplay Angus. It's not gonna happen. It's usually not gonna happen. Sometimes it happens. Like sometimes in those two matchups against Angus with any deck and in the wild mirrors, mid-range mirrors, you have games that are skill intense and fun. But very often not. And against control, it's fine. Control against control is skill intense. It's usually skill intense. Mid-range against control, it depends a bit on the deck. But with this deck I'm playing right now, I feel like it's very fine. It's in a very good place. Yeah. So the solution is to make control great again. and importantly, to not print more cards on the Might Singer and Hierophant level that decide games by its own. Croc is also another example. Don't overpush your troops that hard. Don't do it. And don't print RNG effects, please. Or print RNG effects, but don't print them on cards that will define the meta. Okay. That's my rant. That's my rant. Yeah. Okay. 25 people heard my rant, so that's great. RNG is not great, no. Not when it decides games on its own. Because if I want that, then I can as well play Hearthstone, right? If I want RNG to decide my games, then I can as well play Hearthstone. Let's be real here. Okay. I understand that you have RNG in a card game, but it shouldn't be that important. Like you can try and decrease the importance of RNG, or you can increase the importance of RNG. And you should, in my opinion, try to decrease it and not increase it. Hearthstone intentionally tries to increase it. Some RNG isn't bad. That's true. Like, on some fun cards, limited cards, I have no problem with RNG. It also depends on the difference between a good result and a bad result. Like, the problem with Reese is not so much that it's RNG, but the variance between the outcomes. Like a Worker Bot and a Mega Hulk, day and night. Day and night. So if Reese was, instead of creating a random robot, create a random 2/2, 3/3, or 4/4, then the card would be much more fine. It still would be RNG, but it wouldn't be that different from the outcomes. That being said, Reese is not a card that ever was ban-worthy in my eyes. The only cards I argued for a ban was Majesty and Runia Hierophant with the old spell sheet gem, where I argued he should be suspended as long as we don't have the rotation. And I still think that would have been the better idea than to do nothing. Now I'm arguing about. Now I'm arguing mostly about changing, because you can fix your cards. It's digital. I mean, there are two threads on the forums where I laid out my position. I think it's silly not to use your digital aspect and Not to even try to change cards. I don't get it. I feel like they chose to do so because they looked at Magic the Gathering and they do bans, and then they thought, yeah, let's do it this way as well, without really exploring it. I get the argument to some degree, the slippery slope argument, and the argument that when you have not the option to change cards, then you have to be very aware of your design. But apparently they aren't aware enough of their design. Apparently they are making too many mistakes. So let's have the option to change, please, please. Which argument is not a very good one? You mean the argument for not allowing to change cards? Yeah, Chris, I heard that a lot. Not changing isn't fair either, yeah. I heard that argument a lot. But let's look at the one instance where Hex Entertainment did involve. That was banning Majesty. What happened then? Majesty fell from 400 platinum to 50 platinum, and Calamity fell from 2000 platinum to 200 platinum. And I had 4 Calamities. I bought them like 2 weeks earlier, and I was a bit annoyed that I lost like 8k platinum all of a sudden. But since I argued for the ban, I still was fine because it was better for the game. And card value changes all the time for a reason, yeah. It's a TCG. Calamity is worth 1100? I don't think you're right there. Yeah, maybe after the first day it wasn't at 200. But look at where it is now. Like I said. Ah. No. 2000 was straight at release, but it didn't run that down. Has gone up again. You see the picture I see, do you? And yeah, that's as a whole, that's not the biggest argument. I mean, go to the I will link you to the forum discussion, since it's a bit hidden, since it was in another thread. I actually laid out my position and everything and debated. Where is it? Top 8 deck lists made me cry a little bit. That thread was used for everything, basically. It was 1100 straight before the ban? Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't matter, right? It's still a huge drop. And do you really think, like, let's take Might Singer, let's say they remove Crush. Do you think the card will drop at anything under 1800? I think if they removed Crush, the card would stay exactly the same, value-wise. Always depends, like, if you move Speed from Matriarch, card will drop a little, of course. But where would it drop more? If you ban the card or you change the card? This argument I never get. Because either you have a problem or you don't have a problem. But you have to do something. And when you want to do something and you can't change, then you have to ban. So you can't just say changing will decrease the value. That's only when you change many more cards than you would need to ban. But let's say it's the same amount. Like, you have a problematic card, and you have either the option to ban or to change. And when will the card lose more value? When you ban or when you change? For me, it's no question at all. A change will always remain more value than a ban. And then there's argument with PvE and eternal formats. A ban can possibly be reverted, a nerf not. That's not true. That's just not true. We are digital, you can do anything. That's just outright false. Why? Did you ever appear that... Did it ever cross your mind that a card that is banned, gets banned, is problematic enough that it shouldn't be allowed in Eternal either? Like, maybe? Yeah? A card like Meisinger, a card like Titania's Majesty was not only banned because it was too strong, but because it was not entertaining. It didn't make for entertaining games. So it's not automatically to say that a card like Titania's Majesty should be allowed in Eternal. Actually, I would argue that it should not be allowed in Eternal, it should be banned in Eternal. You can't revert enough. Why? You change the card back again. Done. If you have your old code, takes you a minute. Of course you can revert enough. The question is, should you revert enough? Well, that's another question. As is the question, should you revert a ban? Like, people just say, yeah, cards would be allowed in Eternal. I don't... No, that's not automatically. Look at the community reactions to reverts, nerfs and reverts. Yeah, look at the community reactions to a bad meta. Like, is it better to have a meta that is not enjoyable? Farthest on the unfun scale. Sure. Okay. I mean, banning and unbanning is also problematic. Let me tell you. Yeah, it's fine if you enjoy the meta. Yeah. Rivers agrees that you would have banned Hero Font on Season 1. Yeah, that was my argument as well. And right now, what I would do is change Meitzinger. Maybe remove Crush is not the best way. I would have to think. Maybe make Meitzinger like 6 wild thresholds, but then the argument comes that you just wait till set 6, and I guess it's fine. But let me tell you, just for the future, just saying let's wait until the next set is not the right approach to balance. That's not how you handle a game as a developer. No. Can't just say let's wait 4 months, let's wait 3 months. But it's after set 6 and it's not better. Then you say let's wait till set 7. Yeah. Actually, I increased my viewership doing this talk than playing. That's crazy. So I would probably, like right now, Meitzinger, since we are hopefully just 1 month away from set 6, I would say okay, let's wait. But even that I do with like I think I would remove Crush. Just because it wouldn't be like evasive in the card value. And even without Brave and Crow, the Crush could be removed and it's still fine. If it's not better after set 6, then that's when you get into ban and nerfing. That's the kid enjoy their new toy. Yeah, but what? After set 6, people will tell me, let's wait until the meta settles. Let's wait at least a month. Let's wait at least another month. So then we are 2 months in. And then you say, set 7 will do it. I heard this. I heard this with the Hierophant situation. I heard this even with the Titania's Majesty discussion, to be fair, to be honest. How sure are we that set 6 is a month away? Not sure at all. But set 5 was released on September 7th. So if you go 4 months, that's February. That's exactly in 1 month. So it should be around that corridor. Everything else would be then they are falling behind on their own expectations. You're 1 month in and they have a major tournament, they can use that data. Yeah, and so long you have 2 more months of a bad meta. Like, would it be horrible to remove Crush? Would that ruin the card? Does anyone think so? Would that ruin the meta if Meitzinger has no Crush? Or if Matriarch had no speed? Would that ruin the meta? Would that mean that Ruby is uncompetitive all of a sudden? Let's take Meitzinger for Matriarch for a second. Let's say Matriarch had no speed. Angus would be a lot weaker, sure. But let's be real here, there are many decks that don't play Matriarch because they can't afford it. And they still win, quite reliably. And without Matriarch's speed, it still would be played, the Matriarch, I mean. It would lose value, like it would drop to 1500, 1100, whatever. The deck would become less popular. It would become worse. But that's what you want to do. That's what you want to achieve. Like, I have to repeat it, since not enough people talk about it. And the Plunder, Angus was the most played deck. Everyone tried to beat Angus. You can't go in the tournament and say, I ignore Angus, since you are well aware that it will be the most played deck. And what happened? Angus was the most overperforming, the best performing deck. Still. And that shouldn't happen with Mono Ruby aggro if everyone tries to counter Mono Ruby. Like if you look back at MTG, I'm not saying aggro should be bad. I'm saying if everyone tries to beat aggro, if everyone tries to beat Mono Red, then Mono Red should not be the best deck anymore. It's pretty simple. Mama Yeti is harsher than Matriarch? I don't know. Yeah, my first suggestion was to make Mama Yeti a 4/4, to change that, which also would be a big change. But I think Matriarch without speed would be even bigger for the deck, even worse for the deck. But yeah. Tim! Again! I repeat it like a 4th time now. Everyone tried to beat Angus and the Plunder. And Angus was the best performing deck out of all decks. That means more people should play Angus. It also means apparently it's not easy at all to reliably beat Angus. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying you can't build a good counter deck. But apparently it's so taxing and so hard that it's not good enough. I guess you can try and build a deck that just beats Angus, but then you lose against everything else. Yeah? That's not good. No, I'm not saying that, Chris. I'm not saying that. You can't do away the variance. I'm not saying that. That's not the argument at all. There will be games where you have no decision, and that's fine. That's variance, that's RNG, that's in every card game. The question is, how often do we have games without any meaningful decision making? Right now, too often. It's a question of quantity and quality. Not about if or if not. You will always have variance. Try to argue with my argument that Angus was the best performing deck. You can't just ignore that. Especially, I mean, you could ignore it when no one expected Angus to be the most played deck. But if you look at MTG history, mono red decks are usually very good when no one expects them to show up. But everyone expected Angus to show up. I actually expected them to show up as the most played deck, and it still did the most damage. Yeah. Question is about percentage, not if a win is possible. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Should have muted my music. No, not in this way. I could have uploaded it on YouTube, like this whole discussion. Yeah, it's always a range. Yeah, but I think that's enough ranting for our discussion. Or crybaby for today. I can link something else for your consumption. One last thing which I found, which I think someone else linked. I think it was it Biz? I'm not sure if it was Biz. I need to look it up. Oh, it was Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil and Biz. Those two people usually are the ones that I can agree with most. Especially Biz. He always shows up with interesting graphics and statistics. Yeah, Chris, like I said, I can. Of course, that's decision making still. Like which deck you bring, obviously. The question is, the problem is, to put it simply, and then I'm finished. There are too many games that are too silly. Not every game is silly, but there are too many games that are too silly. Period. That's my argument. In a nutshell. I don't think that's Frank Carsten now. Oh, it's Frank Carsten, yeah. Okay. Yeah, with the article, it's difficult to say which meta we have right now. And that's not my major point. My major point is what he calls appealing characteristic 3. I will copy paste it. That's from the article. That's the point where I most take issue with right now. Okay. Until next time, I will watch the Cosmic Crown Showdown now, as I would suggest you guys do. I think Varanus wanted to do a stream, and I think Heki wanted to shoutcast as well. Varanus is already up, yeah. Since I'm watching him anyways, I can as well post him now. Alright, until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for having this debate with me. I love to debate always. Goodbye. Since I'm watching him anyways, I can as well post him now. Alright, until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for having this debate with me. I love to debate always.